I'm Dr. Christy, and this is Climbing Fish Parenting, practical parenting strategies in 20 minutes or less. I'm a psychologist and behavior analyst, and I work with exhausted, overwhelmed parents who feel like they've tried everything and nothing works. If you're listening to this while folding the laundry, hiding in your car, or wishing bedtime would just end already, you're in the right place. Today is a little different. I'm answering questions from listeners, real questions from real parents who are in the trenches with you. By the end of this episode, you'll have quick, actionable insights on some of the most common struggles I hear about, and you'll know that whatever you're dealing with, you're not alone. Ready to transform your parenting journey? Let's dive in. I get questions from parents all the time, through email, DMs, after workshops. And I love it because these questions tell me exactly what you're struggling with in real life. Today, I'm answering 4 of them, rapid fire. Each one could be its own full episode, and some of them will be in the future. But I want to give you enough to think about right now. So let's jump in. Question 1. My kid is so slow. It takes hours to clean his room, forever to leave the house in the morning. He spends a ton of time in the bathroom, but nothing seems to motivate him. What's going on? Okay, this is such a good question because it's one I hear constantly. And the first thing I want to say is this is not a motivation problem. I know it looks like one. I know it feels like one, but it's not. Here's what's actually happening. When your kid takes forever to do something, it's usually one of 3 things, and often it's a combination. First, executive function struggles. Tasks that seem simple to you, like clean your room, actually require multiple executive function skills happening at once. Your child has to initiate, start without being told. They have to plan. What do I do first? They have to organize. Where does this go? They have to sustain attention, stay on task without getting distracted. And they have to sequence. What's the order of steps? If their brain doesn't provide that internal scaffolding, they freeze. Or they start and they get distracted, or they do one thing and then they forget what they were doing. It's not that they don't want to do it. It's that their brain is asking them to hold too many things at once. Second, there are a couple of brain-based patterns that can look like slowness. One is slow processing speed. Their brain takes longer to take in information and respond to it. So when you ask them to do something, there's a delay between hearing you and being able to act on it. Another is something called sluggish cognitive tempo, which Dr. Russell Barkley has researched extensively. Now, this isn't a formal diagnosis in the DSM yet, and I know it has a strange name, but it is a pattern I see in my testing and therapy work. It's different from ADHD, inattentive type, even though people sometimes confuse the two. Kids with ADHD, inattentive type, might struggle with focus and attention, but they can move quickly when they're motivated or interested. Kids with sluggish cognitive tempo are different. They actually move slowly. They physically do things at a slower pace. They process information slowly. They seem like they're in a fog or daydreaming, even when they're trying to pay attention. It's not that they're distracted or not paying attention like ADHD inattentive type. It's that their whole system runs at a slower speed. Their brain is working. It's just working at a different pace than we expect. So when you say, hurry up, their brain literally cannot hurry. It's not defiance. It's not lack of motivation. It's how their brain is wired. Third, sensory or regulation needs. Sometimes what looks like slow is actually a nervous system that needs more time to transition, or they're seeking sensory input, which is why they're spending so long in the bathroom. There's water, an enclosed space, quiet, or they're avoiding something that feels overwhelming. So what do? Break the task into tiny specific steps. Instead of clean your room, try put the books on the shelf. That's step 1. Use external time supports, timers, visual schedules. We're leaving in 10 minutes means nothing to a time-blind brain. But when this visual timer goes off, we leave is concrete. And get curious about what's actually happening. Is the bathroom their regulation space? Are they genuinely struggling to initiate? Once you understand the why, you can support it instead of fighting it. This is a big topic, and I'm going to do a full episode on it soon. But for now, remember slow isn't lazy, it's a signal. Question two: my kid's teacher says they're fine at school, but they fall apart at home. What's going on? This one hits hard for a lot of parents because it makes you feel like you're imagining things. The school says everything's great, but at home your kid is melting down, refusing tasks, completely dysregulated. And you start to wonder, is it me? Am I the problem? No, you're not the problem. Here's what's actually happening. At school, your kid is holding it all together. They're white knuckling through the day, using every ounce of control and effort they have to follow the rules, stay in their seat, keep their body regulated even when the lights are too bright and the sounds are too loud and the social demands are just overwhelming. And it works. For those 6 hours, they look fine. But the second they get home, the second they're in a safe space with a safe person, all of that falls apart. It's not that they hate you. It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's that you're the safest person they have. And home is where they finally let their nervous system collapse. Think of it like this: if you spend all day at work holding in your stress, smiling through meetings, staying professional, where do you finally let it out? At home, with the people you trust most. Your kid is doing the same thing. The fact that they fall apart with you isn't a problem. It's proof that you're their safe place. But let me show you what this actually looks like at different ages. Because the way kids hold it together changes as they get older, and understanding what you're seeing helps you advocate for them. In elementary school, ages 5 to 10, holding it together at this age often looks like extreme compliance. Your child might sit perfectly still, even when their body is screaming to move. They might not ask to use the bathroom, even when they really need to go, because they don't want to call attention to themselves. They might not tell the teacher when another kid is bothering them, because they've learned that speaking up makes things more complicated. They might work twice as hard as their peers to produce the same quality of work, but the teacher only sees the finished product and thinks they're doing fine. At home, this same child refuses to get dressed in the morning, melts down over homework, can't handle transitions, needs you to prompt every single step of every routine. The teacher thinks you're overreacting, but you're seeing the real cost. In middle school, ages 11 through 13, holding it together gets more sophisticated here. Your tween has learned what gets positive attention and what gets negative attention, so they've gotten really good at flying under the radar. They might not participate much in class, but they don't disrupt either. They might turn in work that's good enough, even though they're capable of more, because producing more would require energy that they just don't have. They might eat lunch alone or with one friend, because managing a larger group is too exhausting. But to the teacher, it just looks like they're quiet or shy. At home, they're irritable, withdrawn, exhausted. They might spend hours in their room recovering. They might snap at you for minor things. They might refuse to do anything social on weekends because they've used up all their social energy at school. The school says no concerns, but you're watching your child barely survive. In high school, ages 14 to 18. At this age, holding it together can look like overachievement or underachievement, depending on the kid. Some teens keep it together by being the perfect student: high grades, involved in activities, polite, responsible. They've learned that success keeps adults from asking too many questions. But at home, they're falling apart. They might be having panic attacks before school, engaging in self harm to manage the overwhelm, or dealing with depression that no one at school sees because they've gotten so good at performing. Other teens can't keep up the performance anymore. They do the bare minimum to pass. They don't cause problems, they blend into the background. Teachers assume they're unmotivated or lazy. But what's actually happening is that holding it together has become too exhausting, so they've shut down. At home, you're seeing the anxiety, the executive function struggles, the complete inability to manage the demands of adolescence. But the school sees a kid who just needs to try harder. Here's the physical and emotional cost of holding it together all day. that most people don't understand. Keeping it together isn't just trying hard or being on your best behavior. It's a constant, exhausting process of monitoring yourself, your body, your words, your facial expressions, your tone of voice, and adjusting in real time to match what's expected. For kids who are wired differently, this is happening all day, every day, in every interaction. The physical cost shows up as chronic fatigue, headaches, stomach aches, getting sick more often because their immune system is compromised by chronic stress. Difficulty sleeping because their nervous system can't downregulate after a full day of being on. The emotional cost shows up as increased anxiety and depression, loss of sense of self because they've spent so much energy being what others expect that they don't know who they actually are, complete burnout, a state of depletion where even small tasks become impossible, emotional volatility at home because they have no regulation left. And here's what makes this so hard for you as a parent: you're the one witnessing the cost. You're the one who sees what it actually takes for your child to be fine at school. You're the one managing the fallout every single day. And when you try to explain this to the school, they look at you like you're making it up because all they see is the performance. Here's why this is so invalidating for you. When the school says they're fine, what you hear is you're wrong about your own child. It makes you question everything. Maybe you are overreacting. Maybe you are seeing problems that aren't there. Maybe you are the reason they're struggling at home. But here's what I need you to hear: you're not wrong. You're seeing something real. The fact that your child can hold it together at school doesn't mean that they're fine. It means they're working incredibly hard to appear fine, and you're the one bearing witness to the cost of that effort. This is invalidating because it puts you in an impossible position. You know your child is struggling, but you can't get anyone else to see it. You're advocating for support, but the school is saying support isn't needed. You're exhausted from managing the daily fallout, but everyone thinks you're exaggerating. And the isolation of being the only one who sees the truth is absolutely crushing. So, what do? First, expect the after school crash. Plan for it. Give them time and space to decompress before you ask anything of them. This isn't indulging bad behavior. This is acknowledging that their nervous system needs recovery time. Second, document what you're seeing at home. Not to prove anything to yourself, you already know what's real, but because when you eventually need to advocate for support, having a record of the pattern helps. Note the time of day meltdowns happen, what precedes them, how long recovery takes. Patterns become undeniable. Third, when the school says they're fine, you can say, I'm glad they're holding it together there. That tells me they feel safe and are working really hard to meet expectations. At home, I'm seeing the cost of that effort. Let's talk about what support might help them sustain this without burning out. You're not arguing with the school's observation. You're adding context that they don't have. You're the expert on what happens outside of school hours, and that expertise matters. Now, that doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean you're not exhausted, but it does mean you're not failing. What helps most? Knowing you're not imagining this, knowing there's a reason for what you're seeing, and knowing that other parents are living this exact same experience and feeling this exact same isolation. Question 3. My kid refuses all help. How do I support them when they won't let me? This is tricky because it shows up differently at different ages. So let me give you a quick breakdown across developmental stages. For younger kids, ages 5 to 8, when they say, I can do it myself, and then immediately melt down, they're not being defiant. They're trying to assert independence, but their skills haven't caught up to their desire. What helps? Offer help in a way that doesn't feel like you're taking over. I'll start this with you. Then you can finish. Or let's do it together. Partnership, not rescue. For middle years, ages 9 to 12, this is peak, I don't need you energy. They want to feel capable, but they often still need scaffolding. What helps? Offer help indirectly. I'm going to be in the kitchen if you get stuck, or offer a choice. Do you want me to sit with you or check in every 10 minutes? Give them autonomy while staying available. For teens, ages 13 and up, refusing help at this age is often about protecting their identity as someone who can handle things. What helps? Respect their request for space, but name what you're seeing without judgment. I notice you're struggling with this. I'm not going to force help, but I'm here if you want to brainstorm. Then actually let them struggle. Not to the point of failure, but enough that they learn they can ask for help without it meaning they're incapable. Across all ages, the key is not to make them feel like help is failure. When you swoop in and take over, you're sending the message you can't do this. When you offer partnership or availability, you're sending a different message. You're capable, and I'm back up if you need it. That distinction matters. Question 4. How do I get my partner on the same page when they think I'm too soft? Oh, this one. This is so hard because it's not just about parenting strategies. It's about your relationship, your values, and often your own childhood experiences. Here's the short version. You're not going to convince your partner by arguing. You're not going to win by presenting research or explaining your approach over and over. What works better? Show them what's working. When your child responds to your approach, point it out. Did you notice how calm they were when I gave them a choice instead of a command? When their approach doesn't work, don't say, I told you so. Just say, that was hard. Want to try something different next time? And if possible, get them to listen to resources like this podcast. Sometimes hearing it from a third party makes it click in a way that hearing it from you just doesn't. But here's the hard truth. You can't control your partner's parenting. You can only control yours. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is model the calm, connected approach and trust that over time, they'll see the results. This is a huge topic and honestly deserves its own episode or maybe even a webinar. If you want me to go deeper on this, let me know. If one of these questions resonated with you, pick one thing to try this week. Maybe it's breaking down a task for your slow kid. Maybe it's giving space for the after-school crash. Maybe it's offering help without taking over. Maybe it's showing your partner what works instead of arguing about it. One thing, and see what shifts. All right, that's it for today. 4 questions, 4 quick answers. Remember, if you have a question you want me to answer on a future episode, send it my way. DM me, email me, I read everything. If you already received the Climbing Fish Parenting newsletter, just hit reply. In 2 weeks, I'm opening registration for a free live webinar where I'm going deep on why your smart kid struggles with simple things and what actually helps. If you're not on my email list yet, head to climbingfishparenting.com/newsletter and sign up now so you get the link when it drops. That strategy I just gave you, it's the whole Climbing Fish philosophy in action. There's a quote, everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. Your kid isn't broken. Your parenting isn't broken. Sometimes we're just asking our fish to climb trees. That's what we fix here. I'm Dr. Christy, and I'll see you next week.